here waiting and having to listen to Micah and I chat without you. So, Trav, big welcome, man. Thanks for joining us and leaving your kids at the trampoline park, I believe.
Yeah, no, it was good. I just actually, they went with Lindsay and I had dinner with my mom, and then I got a call. Everyone's like, "You're supposed to be on the show." It's like, oh, well, 2 seconds. Sorry, my bad. I didn't check the time. I just looked at my email. I messed up.
It's pretty fitting that, this has been a cluster from day one. We get a lot of things wrong, but one thing we've got very right is having you here today. So thanks, pal. Micah, you're at home.
I'm leaving first thing in the morning. Don't get it twisted.
Why is it so dark there, Micah?
I live in like a really weird aquarium is the word. It happens.
Never mind.
Hey, so we were going to, Trav, we're going to make this show obviously all about you, but we wanted to start with Browny and Micah having a little bit of a super fan moment and, playing our favorite Travis Pastrana video and talking about our first kind of interaction with Trav. So I'm going to start.
Browny, please do not tell your first interaction. I'm going
to. The PG,
it's different. Okay, cool.
The PG version of this, Trav, can you play the helicopter video? That also sounds weird. It's not.
This is awesome.
That is not the video.
Oh, wow.
This is the video. So,
Yes.
Trav, I'll give my version of this, and then I'd be interested to hear you. So this is September 2009 in a place called Barangaroo in Sydney. This was the launch of the first ever Nitro Circus live tour, and we'd been kind of working on this for a couple of months, and you came out and did a big PR junket, and culminating in this helicopter jump. What's your memories of this? Not of me, but of this.
Okay, well, yeah, the rest of the tour was actually really fun. I was kind of hoping they'd get the 120-foot ramp out, because then we could have the helicopter further off the ground. It barely looked, the pilot's great. He kept that thing super still, but you can see my rear tire when you slow-mo it misses the blade by, it was almost the first backflip 360. It was going to be super sweet, but missed it by about literally 1.5 to 2 feet, as maybe even less. So it looked kind of lame, and it was extremely dangerous. So it's kind of the opposite of what we go for generally.
Yeah, it was the old classic risk versus reward, and we kind of got that one a little bit wrong. But who would have thought, 12 years and almost 450 Nitro Circus live shows later, did you think we would be here this present day with that kind of resume of live shows?
No, honestly, it started out as we thought it would be really cool to try one tour, and we did full set. Everyone was almost dying in every show, and then like, congratulations, we're going to do another season or another year. We're going to add 20 more shows. We're like, what? We're not going to survive this. So it definitely changed the dynamic. For that first year, we learned a lot about performance and showmanship, and everyone just wanted to throw the biggest, craziest, like probably going to hurt yourself tricks. And we were all hurt. Chad Keggy had a broken foot. I had a broken collarbone. Like, Reels had like 5 concussions that tour. Jim DeChamp broke his back, and we all kept showing up the next show. We're like, we got it. So it's changed a lot, because the crowd was just, I think for the first year, we're thinking, wow, you guys are just dumb. Like, this is what you guys haven't landed anything. So now we realize that you got to land some stuff, and it's good.
And it's crazy to think you rattled off those injuries. Like you broke your collarbone on a mountain bike. Bilko tore his MCL on a BMX bike. Chad Kagi on the transfer. So you're all doing. Jim DeChamp was trying to do a front flip on a dirt bike. So you're all doing stuff you shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah, no, Jim DeChamp was like his 4th crash on a front flip or something. Like, he wasn't landing it any night. Sometimes he'd get back up and try it again the same night. We're like, this is bad.
Yeah, well, there was a bunch of guys doing their first kind of live theatrical shows, right? And I think you kind of always battled with everyone wanting to do their biggest and best things and kind of making it a live show, so everyone didn't break off the way they did on that first tour.
Well, so everyone says, oh, how do you talk everyone into doing the craziest stuff? It's like, no. How do you talk everyone into going, okay, if someone crashes in front of me, I have to do a trick that I can land to get this crowd back going. Like, if someone gets carted off with a concussion or bone sticking through the skin. You have to get carted off thumbs up, even with the bone sticking through your skin, first off. And then the next guy that jumps in, he's got to land it. But if you get 4 or 5 guys that land the biggest tricks ever, you have kind of that liberty to go, okay, well, the energy's good. The jump must be, everything's working. Like, let's send it. But it's hard for an athlete because everyone always wants to one up what they've done before, what the other person's done. And, the MVC was such a coveted, I only won it twice out of all the years I've been touring. It's harder, obviously, by that statistic than an X Games gold medal to win the most valuable circus member award at Nitro Circus. I think, Micah, you've won one, right?
Yeah, I got 2. I got 2.
Well, you got the
I
same
absolutely
amount.
have photos of them.
Technically, I have a split one with Cam Sinclair. So I got 2.5.
He's got you, Micah.
Always got to win. Who's balling out sooner than later? Don't worry. I promise.
Hey, Micah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on kind of what Trav was saying there about the kind of show versus contest and the athlete mentality, and like how does that affect you?
I kind of sell my performances on that it's the contest, everybody wins. Like, you're gonna get paid, everybody's positive and wants you to do good things, and it just makes the show that much better when there isn't any pressure. So yeah, I fully agree with him in every sense of it.
All right, I'm gonna get you back on topic. I want you to tell 2 stories. I want you to tell the story when you met Travis, but go all the way back to the late 90s when you first found out who Travis Pastrana was. Let's start there. We're all did. We're showing you 3 of
the
it.
day I became a Travis Pastrana fan. I haven't.
Yes.
I don't know if they remember too much of this, but there was Gravity Games, which was done in Cleveland, Ohio. And if you haven't been to beautiful Cleveland, Ohio, you haven't really lived in your life yet. They had a freestyle motocross, BMX, and I think aggressive inline was there. And at the contest, this was like 2000s-ish, someone threw a helmet or threw some water or something, and there ended up being a fight between like the Metal Militia and a whole bunch of BMXers. And all those BMXers were like my friends at the time. So that at that point, I instantly just wasn't a big fan of the Metal Militia, just from then moving on. So it was like whoever could beat him. And then you always saw him like in the shoulder pads and like cosplay and stuff. And I always thought motocross was cool enough that it would like hold on its own. So when you beat him with that 360, like in that stadium where I used to watch all the like Mickey Thompson off-road championship series stuff, like it was kind of a cool culmination of like, that's when I knew you were the guy I was going to follow the whole time. So like, that's when I like through all of that. And then the first time I ever met you was, not met, but like we kind of hung out was at World Games at the after party. Like I had gotten invited the day before. Like I got invited the day before. Like I had just started working for Nitro Circus. Like you had no idea who I was, which is not a big deal. But like somehow the girl I was with had met like a girl with Tommy who was like somehow would use like okay to all of us to come. Like, it was just hilarious. Like,
Put the fun. So you were nothing but a novelty.
The after party.
Tommy's looking. Yeah, you're looking good, man.
There wasn't a lot of room in that after party. You know what I'm saying?
Let's read the caption here from Trav. At Street Bike Tommy is the small one. Nitro announcer and world's best at Bam Bam's barbecue, hanging out at the Nitro World Games after party. You have labeled Micah at this point the Nitro announcer.
Yeah, I just went with it.
Yeah, I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. Sorry, Micah.
But that was
no hard feelings.
We're friends now.
Micah had only just done his first kind of the summer tour of 2016, Trav, and that was when we were in Australia doing the 10th anniversary tour. So we kind of, the paths didn't quite cross because we're on other sides of the world. And I'd only met Micah a handful of times before Nitro World Games as well. So fast forward, Micah, I said to you, what is your favorite Travis Pastrana clip of all time? And we've got this on tape for you.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that holds more than that double backflip 360. I think you could watch this clip over and over and over, and you wonder if it's CGI every single time.
It's funny, Trav. I think when a lot of people think of you and who probably don't know you just think your double backflip is the most iconic trick that you've ever done, and obviously that is timeless. But the battle you had with this trick and kind of the significance for you, can you give us a bit of an insight into what this trick meant to you and the culmination of 11 years trying to do it?
Yeah, so started doing that trick on a bicycle in 2001. Landed it, I think, in 2017. So
16.
think about that. Like as far as like trampoline in 2000, bicycle 2001, kind of figuring it out, doing it on smaller pit bikes and trying to figure out how to do it on a mountain bike. Finally was able to, honestly, we were sitting, Dusty Weigel and I were sitting at a pub, ironically enough, over, I think we
I
were,
believe it.
we had a double header over in France. Or in, no, sorry, was it England or France? It was for the double back. Sorry, sometimes this sounds horrible, but like when you get on tour, like a lot of the venues kind of blend in because you wake up the next morning, you're already in the next stadium. So you miss the travel.
Next country.
Yeah, full next country, next everything, and you're just in the bowels of the stadium, and then you might get out for a little bit to go do some interviews and kind of sleep deprived and everything. But the show on the first night, it must have been the O2 Arena. First night was absolutely packed house, O2 Arena, like it was electric. Every single person stepped up and did a world's first, did something they'd never done before. And Dusty and I were kind of the old guys. We're both kind of hurt, and then we had just done the press tour and we're tired. We started having a few drinks that night, and we're like, man, when's the last time we did something cool? Dude, it's been, and we had to we're thinking about it. We're like, get the Rolodex out. Like, 2 years ago, like, oh man. I'm like, all right, Dusty. I'm like, double backflip 360. I'm like, I know that I can do it because I've done it into the foam pit, but we kind of put it on the back burner for a while. And I said, I know you can do it because I've seen you do it in the foam pit. He's like, well, I'll land it before you'll land it. And by this point, don't get me wrong, we get done the show at 10. We sign autographs. We have the MVCs. We go to the hotel. It's 1 a.m. We're bribing the bartender to keep past. I mean, not like drunk, but just, to have your beer before you go to bed. Yeah. And we talked to the track crew was all there, Brooksy and all the guys, because they had a rare night off because we had 2 nights in the same spot. And Brooksy goes, hey, we'll put the big ramp up if you guys want to get there before practice. Practice at 10 a.m. So like, all right, we'll get there at 8. That's 6 hours from now. Perfect. Let's do it. So sure enough, Dusty's knocking on my door at 6 o'clock the next morning because he doesn't like to sleep. And we go out there, and I crashed on a single backflip trying to just jump it. I crashed on a double backflip trying to see what I could do. And Dusty is fixing my bike. He's like, all right, now I'll actually hit the ramp. And I went down and just dumb luck. Double backflip 360 and rode out of it. I was more shocked than anybody. Dusty didn't come down that ramp for probably another hour. He sat up there and I don't know if he cried physically, but he cried inwardly. And he was like, he was a sunken man. He's like, okay, now we were the last 2 old guys that haven't done something cool in a while. And you go do something that's never been done in my sport. Like, I hate you. But what I learned that day was that I'd rather be lucky than good. And if you add another flip to a backflip 360, it's actually easier. You need a lot more time. So we didn't know if it was possible on a motorcycle, but at that point I really started working towards this because I had crashed so many times on a backflip 360. But realizing that if it comes around like a backflip 270, you just lean back again, it should go in theory. So we get out there, not to tell a super long story long, but we're filming for Action Figures 2. And it's the last day of filming. And I had always wanted to do this, but we were running behind on schedule. We hadn't got a lot of sleep because, the rain, and we're with Hubert, we're working on jumps and finalizing the ramps. And we wanted to get the back-to-back double backflip, and then the train with the double backflip, triple backflip train with bicycles and motorcycles. I crashed 5 times that day. I actually started the day with an ice in my boot. So, thank you, Todd Mine. Much appreciated. It was like just the endless day. It was just about to get dark. And we had the jump that Hubert, I told him, if everything goes well today, I want to try double backflip 3. And it's to like an airbag resi landing. So I was like, I'm not going to die, right? It'll be fine. But we didn't have time to set up the distance. And everything in my house always has like a kink to it. So it's not like you're doing the hardest trick you've ever done, maybe that anyone's ever done on a motorcycle, but you're going around a left and a right, and you're shifting up to third on the takeoff, and you got all this going wrong. And then there's no run out in the landing. Who needs that? Like right through the woods. So I tried it the first time, and I was convinced that I didn't knock myself out. Like I remembered all the way up to landing, and I closed my eyes for a second, and I woke up, and someone had pooped in my pants, and all my friends were just magically all around me, just real quick. It was amazing. Like a full poop. I don't know who the hell would have done that. It was anyway. So everyone's like, oh man. Like I actually like pulled the pants kind of back. I was like, dude, like it's not just a little, it's sorry, my French, this is proper shit. So what had happened was, I guess I was a little unconscious and I hit hard enough to do that. So everyone's like, all right, go back, regroup. I'm like, if I go up to the house, there is no way I'm going to change out of my riding gear and come back and do this. So I crashed 2 more times. I smashed my head. I hurt my shoulder. And I get up, and everyone's trying to talk me out of it. And Trevor Jacob, and this is a guy that he qualifies for the Olympics at #1 World Cup U.S. guy for border cross as a joke. Like, just we have some very amazingly talented, unique individuals on board.
Diverse for sure.
And Trevor's, and he's at the top of that list. And everyone's trying to talk me out, and I'm almost like, you know what? Yeah, it's not worth it. Lindsay's like, dude, okay, you're gonna get, like, there's a certain amount that this movie's gonna make. You've already doubled that budget. We have lost hundreds of thousands of dollars before the videos even come out. Like, that's our maximum we can possibly take. So not only are you spending my money, our kids' money, your money, you are now potentially risking paralysis. You have poop in your pants. Quit while you're behind. No one has to know you failed. I was like, yeah, you all great points there, honey. I love you. Yeah. And she's like, and there's no money on the line. Everyone's trying to talk you out of it. Like, there's nothing to win here. And Trevor Jacob came up to me, matter of factly. He said, do you think you can do it? I said, I know I can do it. So then stop messing around and just go do it already. And I kind of looked at him. He's like, you've backed out. You've spotted your landing. You've backed out here. You've uncommitted here. He's like, if you think you can do it, the only way to know is to commit 100%. He's like, no safety checks, because you come around the first backflip 3 and you want to see the landing. But if you look at the landing, you stop your momentum. He's like, it's going to take every ounce of energy that you have, every ounce of commitment. He goes, basically, you're going to have to take off and you're going to go blind the whole time. And you can see the helmet cam was just looking at the sky and nothing. And he goes, when it comes around, you'll either land on your face and you'll be unconscious, or you'll ride out. Either way, you will know 100% that trick is doable on this ramp today in these conditions, or it's not. And I landed, and my feet blew off the foot pegs, and I was flying into the woods at Mach 5 because I didn't want to let off the throttle because I wanted to not fall over or touch a foot. And I hit the trees at 3rd gear, pretty much pinned. I felt like Ryan Sipes. Oh, it was cool. And then I spent $10. That's my story. I still had poop in my pants, though.
So tell me, if Trevor Jacob didn't give you that kind of words of encouragement, do you think that trick never gets done?
Oh, someone will do it. I mean, G.O.A.T was coming out learning just triple back, not just. He was learning triple backflips, the biggest trick ever. And he's hitting it my 3rd gear pinned jump for 2 strokes. He was hitting it 3rd pinned on a 454 stroke, which is really not a 3rd gear pin jump at all. And he's built like a brick, and he hits the jump. And I didn't believe him at first, but his handlebars bend on the takeoff. Like, I've never bent a pair of bars casing the biggest jump in my life. He bends them going up the takeoff. So when his handlebars bend, it throws him cockeyed, and he does a flip 3 on the way up. And if he had any idea where he was, all I do is lean back, and he had it. So now I think the secret to the double backflip 360 is not pulling and yanking. It's just having giveaway bars on one side. It's
bending your head
style now.
Interesting. Hey, I noticed you were talking about how much of your own money you sunk into that project. You know what I've got to tell you about that, Trav? Someone who can help you if that ever happens again. Tax Act. Get your taxes done at Tax Act, who are our presenting partners of this show. And Trav, you must be aware of this. You are one of the major prizes for this Tax Act promo. Did you?
No. I mean, I probably got an email. I'm not really good at looking at that stuff.
You file your taxes with Tax Act, and you go in the chance to win Travis Pastrana signed pit bike and a hot lap at one of the Rallycross Series events later on in the year that have just been announced.
Dude, honestly, the Nitro Rally, the ride in the rally car is going to be there. There might be more poop in pants. You know, you never know. It's going to be great. But yeah, the pit bikes. We got a pit bike series coming up, and Rallycross, dude. It's things are looking up. Hopefully, as COVID starts to get more vaccinations and get back on.
Hey, so there's kind of an interesting segue there. You basically you hung up. You're doing two dangerous stunts on the dirt bike after landing the TP roll, which kind of rolled into the same times as Nitro World Games being born. How hard was that for you to you created this contest for the riders, by the riders, and for you to kind of be there as not a promoter, but as an event organizer and not as a participant? How tough was that for you in 2016?
To be honest, like I was pretty much done the competition side. In 2008, Bill Coe did bring me back in and called me an old grandpa, and I had to kick his butt in 2010. But that was for a $5 Aussie bet. That was completely.
That was for $5. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So the interesting part, I always wanted to do big stuff, but when you went to competitions, you had to do Olympics are amazing. And I think it's great for action sports that they're going that direction. And I feel like X Games has been huge, and I've made my career because of X Games.
Yeah.
And to make it as fair as possible, you got to kind of, make the ramps very similar. You got to everyone has to have access to it. Like it all makes sense. But for me, when Jed Milton and James Foster are doing quadruple backflips in my backyard, and the biggest trick you see over the mega ramp is a double backflip, you think, all right, and there's more risk because the landings are solid, and they're, if you're doing a front flip or a back flip or a 360, it's always the same. It's the same takeoff for everything. So Nitro, and through James Foster and all the guys that Josh Sheehan, the guys that are welding their own ramps, putting their own additions on top of stuff, and with Nitro, we're adding jacks and all kinds of stuff. Like during a show, you don't see like how much stuff gets changed. Whereas at a competition, you don't have the luxury of making a ramp steeper or taller or further or shorter or whatever you need. So I thought, man, we're really putting ourselves in a corner by not changing this. And I want to go higher, but I want to do it with less consequence. I mean, video games are so popular because you can, especially now with the virtual stuff, you can live, in iRacing. I got this sim behind me and everything. Like you can pretty much live the normal thing with a reset button. Or live real life, if you will. But my biggest thing was, let's make landings that it's not a reset button. You can still break yourself off. I mean, Harry Bink, broke his femur this year, and there's always danger. There will never be without danger in action sports, and that's kind of what makes the sports that we do so exciting and so thrilling, and why there's so few people percentage-wise that are willing to take the risk to be a champion, to be an X Games gold medalist. To be a World Games gold medalist. But at the end of the day, I was like, we're going to have airbags. And everyone's like, oh, that's sissy stuff that shouldn't count. I'm like, no, you can still ride out of these airbags like on a skateboard. It still hurts if you land. But instead of going 30 feet high and having 3 stories be your limit for what a human can fall without dying, all of a sudden now we're going 80 feet. Like we're literally more than doubling the height. We're doubling the time in the air. We're doubling the excitement factor, and we're halving the danger factor. It's still there. You still have to land. If you land upside down, you're gonna take a trip to the hospital. But we're gonna keep these guys. Hopefully, my friends, my family, my wife, my kids, my friends, my kids' friends. The goal is for them to learn from our mistakes, to be able to go bigger, have more fun, do more stuff, but to be able to walk away from it at the end of the day. So we took a lot of flack for it, but at the end of World Games. We had the first year, we had Rice Eccles, we had all these different events, big air of action sports. I think something like 50 world's first, tricks that have never been done anywhere. And we had 1 concussion. I said, all right, our goal is to have no concussions, to have no broken bones, but this is a really good start.
How special was that? Like a bunch of guys were training at Pastrana Land beforehand, and then you kind of homeboy your accidental FMX star Greg Duffy taking home the win with the double fronty.
Well, that's the only time I cried on TV. National television live, I bawled, man. It was just coming after, Paris Rosen comes over with this ramp, and he's going to do a double front flip. And he's like, you know what? He crashed on it. It was mulch landing. He said, it's not worth it. And I don't think he's ridden a motorcycle since. He left his motorcycle. He left the ramps. He's like, just be careful, guys. And we were thinking we're like, oh, man, well, the double's possible. So Bruce Cook comes out, and he starts working on it. And no one's hitting that ramp. It's like a freestyle guy. They're all kind of moto guys. They all are, everyone's like, oh, it just throws you in a perfect front flip. No, you hit a curb at the top of a ramp. The faster you hit it, the harder it throws your feet off the foot pegs, and you use a lot of grip tape, and you hold on for dear life, and then you tuck it in faster. So you got to think like a single backflip's like a half a flip. A front flip is like 1.5 because you're taking off up. A double front flip is 2.5 flips. It's almost the same as doing a triple backflip as far as your rotational speed. It's so hard to slow down or speed up that spin that you have to hit it perfect. And that's why the moto guys were kind of more apt to say, yeah, I think I can do this.
Is that better, like traditionally bike control? Is that bike awareness? Is that the reason behind traditionally you would think that they are better equipped to do these things?
No, just all the freestyles that hit it ended up in a full Superman and got flung off the motorcycle. So I think the motocross guys and there's a lot of good moto guys. And most of the guys, all the Aussies, Sinclair, Jared McNeil, Bill Coe, they all started moto. But there's a difference between, like, I race moto competitively in my local A class, and Jared McNeil, he's top 20 rider. Even not riding that much anymore, he's still phenomenal. But you get a guy like Greg Duffy who's turning top 10 times in the outdoor nationals in America. Like, this guy's
he's a legit moto racer. Yeah,
he's phenomenal. Maybe the fastest rider that's ever come out of America, to be perfectly honest. And he had a little girl, and he was going back to work construction because he just put his heart and soul, and his parents have put all the money into racing. And he's a 15th place racer, 15th best in the country, and it just wasn't paying the bills. And he's like, man, I got to be a responsible adult if I get hurt. So he goes back working construction, but he's still riding almost every day out of my house. Just like he gets off work, he's like, I just love to ride. And he starts hitting these huge jumps that Jackson Strong came out and was like, nope, not doing it. And he's throwing these huge whips off everything. And he sees that, he's like, I'll do a front flip. And he does like 1.5 the first time in the bag. And most of the moto guys are, no matter how small they look or how brittle, they're the toughest human beings on the face of the earth. The racers they're tough. And it doesn't matter, raining, muddy, whatever the conditions, they just go and they can adapt. And Duff started hitting this jump. He hit a third gear. We're like, holy crap. Hangs on, double front flip, perfect to the bag. I was like, Duff, I don't want to get you away from your family. I don't want to cause you any more pain or, anything that's bad. But we got the Australian Cap City 10-year anniversary tour. If you can do this to an airbag, we can probably get you paid pretty well. I mean, it's dangerous. It's halfway around the world, but like, bring your daughter over. Like, this could be cool. And he said, yeah. And I never really thought about him taking it to a landing. But when World Games came around, he was like, I'm going to do it to a landing. And after Bruce and after all the injuries that we've had, it was a really tough moment for me to, like, I believe in him. I knew he could do it. I knew he was going to land it, but
there was big
and his dad, his family's there, and he's got his little girl there, Erin, and I mean, they're all thanking me for the opportunity. I'm like, just don't thank me yet. Like, you could die tomorrow. Like, me as a parent too, I'm like, these sports, they're amazing and they're awesome, and they provide you an opportunity to travel the world. But the land's safe-ish, but it's still such huge risk, and that's why no one else has done a double front flip again. And when you say, Josh Sheehan, you're like, oh, why'd you choose him to do a triple? I'm like, because he's the only person in the world that was capable enough to do it, and that was willing to take the risk to make it happen. So It's to be able to do these sports and to go as high as we're going now, airbag or not, it's ridiculous.
Hey, Micah, you probably had the best seat in the house for everything Trav just described down on the floor. Talk us through your kind of memories of that. And I think you got a bit of microphone time with Trav throughout that. Like, what's your recollection of that and Greg Duffy's double funny?
Up to that point, I'd never seen a double backflip on a motorcycle in person ever. They were doing those in practice. I remember just sitting on the like safety barriers, kind of tilting my head to the left or the right or whatever, just being like, man, this is such a different level what I'm used to. Because I mean, I've been around freestyle motocross for years, but never to the level of what was put together for that event. So I remember I was on the floor announcing the live event. Again, like event was Saturday, got invited Friday, like flown out Friday morning. You know what I mean? Like I got zero prep. I mean, I knew a lot of the guys from tours. I had never heard of Greg Duffy in my life. I heard this guy and I had like one meeting with Travis and he's like, all right, here's everything you need to know. Duffy's a racer. He's never competed in freestyle motocross in his life. And I remember like pausing Travis, being like, wait, say that again? Like this guy's what? And he's who? Because like I don't know who's like at his land. I don't know who's doing what. It was just absolutely amazing, all of it. And then seeing like and then seeing Sheeny doing stuff live and the variations and like, you know, people taking hands off in one's hand and doing it was absolutely next level. And I've never been so scared on the floor before. It was me and who was even with me at the time?
I think I was down there. I was definitely down there.
Me, Andy Zeiss, and you were our handler.
Yeah,
I
was
handler of Andy Zeiss and I.
Yeah, I was handling. I like that. Yeah, handling.
I remember just terrified down there and just screaming into bikes, just make some noise every time someone would go up a lip. Because you're supposed to know what's going on with the tricks, and it was all pre-planned out, but none of that came to fruition at the time. It was for all of madness. It was great. It was,
you know, so
the Battle Dome, you know,
the big air ramp, we call it the moon booter. So normally, like the X Games ramps are like 8 foot tall. The 120-foot ramp, is 10 foot tall. And people are like, oh, that's huge. Well, the ramps that we have at my house, or like in Pastrana land, if you will, if you're looking at Jed Milton and James Foster, their ramp was 22 foot tall. That was half the ramp of Josh Sheehan's 44-foot tall triple backflip ramp. 44-foot tall. Over 4 stories was where you take off to go 110 feet in the air and land on a 65-foot tall landing. You see it on video, but you don't grasp that. So when all these guys came out and they saw that setup, and all the moto guys are looking at this 14-foot tall ramp that's steeper than anything that's ever been in a competition, and we got this new airbag that no one's ever seen, because the first time they had an airbag that was like on a landing. And Josh was like, he was still building his bike, or he was late, and Duffy hadn't got in yet, and he didn't want to hit his like double front flip ramp first. And all the other guys are looking like, you have got to be kidding me. We can't hit that jump. There's no way. It's too big. Sheehan gets out there and it's to that airbag landing, and he double flips it his first run. Right to the landing, rides out. He's like, yeah, ramp's good. Like, hadn't even warmed up the bike. Double flip as a warm-up jump. Everyone just put on their helmets and like, oh, all right, whatever. But like, it's wild seeing, you just don't realize how big stuff is when you see it on action figures or Nitro Circus or whatever. We got a new ramp that we're working on for this year that, like, it's a must see. It's like we got to work on the safety and make sure that everything's, just talking to Happy actually a few minutes ago, and trying to make sure that, it is as safe as possible, and we don't rush something just because it's spectacular. But at the same point, that 14-foot tall ramp, for everybody that had seen it, had never seen it before, thought it was the biggest thing ever. And Josh Sheehan's like, 14 foot? I just hit a 44-foot one. Don't even worry about it. And just double flips. That was like, it was so good to have Josh. He's been awesome.
I think it sounds to me you've probably already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Who is your favorite current day FMXer? Tough question.
It really is, because it's for different reasons. So, like, if you look at someone that came over to my house that I've always looked up to, is always innovative. He doesn't come on a lot of Nitro tours because he doesn't like doing the same thing. He's like, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing better. I don't want to point my toes. I don't want to do the same thing every night. He goes, when I go to a contest, I want to do something I've never done before. And he would have fit on great in the first tour. But that's Tom Paget. And the Paget brothers were really, they were pushing each other, and they got hurt so often. And Charles, unfortunately, had a really bad concussion and, got set back quite a bit. He's back riding now, but not to the same level.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Paget brothers back in the early 2000s were the ones pushing the sport the most. They just weren't known because they were always hurt before the big competitions. So then you have Josh Sheehan. Now, this guy in 2006, he sees a double backflip. He's like, I'm going to build a ramp. And he welds apple farmer, welds his own ramp, takes it to the desert and teaches himself how to do a flip. This guy works in the mines to have enough money to be able to pay for his way to get to some of these races. Everyone's like, oh, if I had a foam pit, if I had this, I'm like, dude, most of the guys that are out there that are doing well, they weld their own stuff. They build their own foam pits. They go work in a fence, building fences. They can build the fence around the foam pit, or go, work at basically a mattress shop to get old mattresses and stuff. Like, if you really want to be in these sports, like, you'll usually find a way to do. I'm not recommending you do any of the stuff that we all do, but at the same time, sorry, I'm taking no responsibility for this. What I like about Josh Sheehan was he showed up to my house, and I had been working on a triple backflip for probably 3 years before I finally called in the cavalry and said, I'm probably not good enough for this and I need some help. And we've been working with Wessel.
Why weren't you good enough, do you think?
One, I wasn't strong enough, and two, so I ran out of money from Red Bull. Gave up after a couple $100,000. Oh, yes, guys. No, I'm totally joking. Thank you for everything.
Full disclaimer: we love Red Bull.
Yeah, no, I made a couple. I actually don't have my hat on. Yeah, but it's Live Like Runners. So don't fire me. Don't fire me. Love you guys. So it was a pretty cool deal because they had pushed for so long. They said, look, we don't want to get you killed. We just don't see this happening. It's just not, you're not speeding up the rotation. It's slowing down every flip. And I had already had basically a big bruise, but compartment syndrome, which was probably the most painful thing I've ever had, like on my quad, and couldn't even walk for like a month. Long story long, they were like, we're done. Nitro comes in. Hey, you think it can happen? I'm like, yeah. Then we ran out of money. So I started I'm like, you know what? I believe it can happen. And we started building ramps, and I hiring all my friends and Nate Wessel and all these guys to come in. And after about a year, I'm like, you know what? Let's open it up. Let's see if anyone can do it. I brought Paget. Paget saw the ramp and he just said, why?
He got the first flight home back to Paris.
He was good. He was doing backflip 360s up to the top. And we're like, hey, now we're going to go to a landing. He's never answered a call that I've called since. I don't blame him. But he doesn't pick up the phone for me anymore. Whereas Sheehan did the opposite. He started off, it took him a little bit to get used to the ramp. Josh he's your working class, working athlete. He's not maybe the most talented or the most, sorry, Josh, you are the most talented, but you work for your talent. He goes out there and he doesn't have that flow that like a Edgar Tronteras has. You can tell that he started a little later. And by a little later, I mean, not at 3 years old when some of these guys are starting. It's not like in their muscle memory makeup. But Josh, when he decides he's going to do something, he'll do it. And, he wasn't making much money at the time. And he paid for a couple of his flights to come over. He was welding his own ramp. Him and Foster were out there. They were both welding on their own ramps, making their own adjustments. We were hired to Hubert and all the guys, and we're putting wood on the takeoff so we didn't have to pay for a $15,000 in metal for these 40-foot tall ramps. We're making small adjustments and changing how you come in and everything about it. And Josh was paying for his own ways and flying home from certain ways that he could get from different events. And he finally came out one time, and we had an airbag for the landing because he had been missing blood on the times before, just landing to the flat bag. And he's
Well,
like,
he
look,
just brushed that over. He was pissing blood. Like, just keep going. Pissing
yeah.
blood.
Well, so everyone's like, oh, I'd do it to an airbag. I'm like, first off, like Trevor Jacob is a decent rider. He almost didn't even hit the airbag. Like it's hard to even go up and go straight, let alone pull. Like you got to take the G-force and the compression. You're going 60 miles an hour and you're going almost vertical right away. It's like it has to be as much as a fighter jet could take. And not only do you have to stand up to that, but you have to be able to yank at the exact right time and not collapse your legs on takeoff. So you got to be super strong. And if one leg gives out or the other leg gives out, you miss the bag and you die. Like literally, you're paralyzed. You're done.
That's the concept.
And that's to an airbag. That's not even worrying about the landing. So we built this landing bag. So he goes, look, the flat bag. He's like, I can get around to nose down. Sorry, there we go, nose down. But he goes, when I'm landing like that, I'm smashing everything, internal bleeding. He goes, I can't get further than that, but I think that if we have a landing here, I could get around to where that's a perfect landing. Like I don't need to pull any harder. I don't need to go any further. So we went and I spent a little over $100,000 on a landing bag that was the first generation of its kind with bag jump to get a landing bag. So he comes back over. Well, it gets stuck in customs. He lands in Washington, D.C. We go pick him up, grab the airbag. He was there for 4 days, but it's supposed to have a snowstorm that even the next day. It's starting at 10 a.m. So he lands from a red-eye flight, basically, flies all night from Australia. So he's pretty jet
from
lagged.
the Australian tour where you,
like we're not first class guy, He's like,
and you actually just had your huge double backflip crash as well, right? So you were kind of pretty busted up as well on that flight home in coach.
No, pretty busted up. We get there, we go straight to customs, which this bag had just cleared. We go and we have all of my friends. I'm like, hey, free beer, which doesn't mean anything. Now free beer for the friends. They're like, hey, we got Josh. We don't need free beer anymore. But they all worked all night. And Josh was the last person there at 3:00 in the morning. It starts to snow. And he's there and he's on top of this 65-foot tall landing that's just vertical over certain depth. And he's the one pulling the hardest, leaning back the most, trying to get this airbag that weighs 4 tons up the landing. And we can't get any equipment up there. And it's freezing cold. And he knows he has to do the triple the next morning. And he's the last person there. And he works. And everyone's like, oh, who builds your ramps and stuff? Yeah, the guys that are doing the stuff are paying for it. They're paying for their own way. They're building their own stuff. And there's no one that worked harder for a trick than Josh Sheehan worked for that triple. And he landed that day, took everything back away, and he came back over a month later and stuck it to the wood landing. That was pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry for my long-winded stories, but it's stuff that people don't like. They don't grasp some of the stuff,
This is what we're trying to give people an insight, Trav, and I think it's an incredible insight. I think from my point of view, for Josh, I kind of really credit him with, really changing how the modern day FMXer is, right? Like he was the first guy to really take nutrition seriously, first guy to really get in the gym and stretch and do all that stuff that the kind of younger guys like Harry Bink and Birchie and those guys have kind of really followed his lead. He's done so much for not just the Australian FMX scene, but FMX scene worldwide. So, yeah, I think it's hard to top him as everyone's favourite rider. But, Micah, who's yours?
My favorite freestyle motocross rider?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I like Jared McNeil.
Yeah.
Little fella.
Little fella.
It's hard not to. He's so good. And every time I see him ride, he's doing a different whip combo. And, he lets me talk him into doing BMX tricks on his motocross. He'll try it at least. Every time I yell at him, he'll do it. So I like McNeil. He what he does on bikes is so unique.
He's got the coolest father-in-law in the world as well. He married into the Abbott family.
Yeah. Yeah, the Abbott family for sure. Hey, what's like fast forward from 2016 Nitro World Games debuting 2021, our first international event here in Australia in Brisbane. How special is that?
Just coming off of COVID, like you guys have been working. Everyone at Nitro has been working so hard.
Yep.
To keep action sports alive, and that sounds silly from the outside, but Nitro Circus is a live touring company that can't do live tours. And thanks to both of you and to Dove and to everybody, kind of changing what Nitro Circus into, at least to get by for now, a media company. And it's been the content and what we've been able to do has been so much fun. And we have to pull in a lot of people like like Vanilla Ice or whatever, and Kurt Busch to the boat race, and Sipes and all these top riders to the pit bike stuff, and trying to do the best that we can with our small skeleton crews and to be within the guidelines of the COVID, and but not being able to really do the live touring. So for us to be able to go back and have the World Championships of Big Air, and to be able to do it really before COVID's kind of even, there's still a lot of questions and everything. And, to have Australia jump in and say, yeah, we're going to support this. And, we're trying to do it as safe as possible and get everyone the best that we can. It was a huge step for us to say, okay, let's not just go and do what we have done. Let's go and do something bigger. And the ramps and the safety and everything that we've been putting in, because we've had a year and a half, let's face it, to think about what are the next steps? What is the next evolution? Like, freestyle motocross is not gymnastics. It's not about pointing your toes. It's not about doing the same thing slightly better than the other people. It is about doing something that's never been done. It's the wow factor. And it's hard to have the wow factor that just shocks people without taking that huge risk. And there is going to be risk, and the jumps are going to be bigger, and everything is going to be crazier. But the riders are pumped. They're excited. They've been testing these ramps. Talking to Chris Haffey, like I was just saying earlier, about, what's the worst case scenario? How far can people get ejected from these ramps? Where do we need the airbags? How much do we have to invest to make sure that the worst case scenario is accounted for? And the higher someone goes and the faster they come into the ramps, the more that area exponentially increases. The bigger the landings have to be, the wider the landings have to be, the more expensive exponentially everything gets. But this is our time for Nitro Circus to say, look, action sports is coming back on the map. And we're not just going to do I shouldn't say what we always done. We've always been about stepping up, but in a time where there's not any extra money, not that anyone ever has extra money, but when there's, it's a time when it's very tough just to get by, to have the investment group and to have everybody and Andy and Dove and all the guys in charge of Nitro to say, you know what, we're going to basically all take like pay cuts, and we're going to figure out how to beg borrow and everything short of steal to make sure that we give these riders what they need to wow the fans and to survive to tell the tale.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's such a good point you make, that it's going to be, in our 12-year history, it's going to be the biggest and best event we've ever put on. Micah, how, just hearing Trav talk about Nitro World Games like that, how does that get you excited in your pants a little bit?
I'm still kind of shocked that Sheehan had a 44-foot tall takeoff.
I'm not.
I'm sorry. I'm still kind of dwelling on that a little bit. Like, really, that was 44 feet? That's 4 stories. 110 feet, that's base jump height. But,
no, you can probably base jump from there. Yeah.
The question I get asked the most is there an indoor stadium that can house performance now? Like, would the Cowboy Stadium work? Or would you hit the big TV screens? Like, could you do it at the Minneapolis Stadium, or are you too close to the ceiling? Like,
I don't know the roof specs, but that's why we built the Moon Booter, to be specific, was it puts you at about 53 to 56 feet. We can probably hit 70 feet if we really get on, especially with the 450 guys. But most of the stadiums in Australia are right about at 58 to 62 feet. So we can still have that in the indoors. And I tell you what, there's nothing scarier than coming around on a double backflip Superman and looking up and seeing your feet. Like, if you look up at the ceiling right now above you, imagine that you're going up towards it. Your feet are about to hit it, and you're literally within 5 feet of the top. And you know, if you hit it as hard as you can, you might be able to foot plant on that. But you just shy of that so you can be within the stadium limits. Yeah. So usually they have the lights up there too. So you're looking up and you're like an inch away from a blinding light that's lighting everything. So you go completely blind, and you gotta spot your landing. Like it sucks to do it in small stadiums. But to that defense, I think we could do it in most of the big stadiums and definitely all of the outdoor stadiums. The problem is the further away you get from action sports, the scooters, the skateboards, you don't get the technicality that's going in. So, to be honest, when we have our best events, like we can do a 30,000 spectator stadium, but anything bigger than that, like if you're looking at a football field, we got to make sure that everything's kind of close, and we kind of focus on that, that 30,000 people range that we can really get right up next to the action. And luckily that hasn't been a problem where we've been selling out too many stadiums more than that. South Africa being the exception onto that rule. But it's hard to beat the stadiums of like an O2 Arena, MGM Grand. These are some of our best shows, even though we can only fit 12,000 people in there. And we have shows that have double that, triple that amount of people. That feeling is cool. So our goal is to always know where the limit is of the people and how they're going to enjoy the performance, and make sure that we kind of keep it, you can get about 30,000 people in a really good close seat. Yeah. Any more than that, it's going to be challenging.
Yeah, I think it's a good point you make that the live show experience is two very different things, the indoor arena to the stadium. What I love about like Brisbane is like we did 2019 Nitro Circus there, which is our biggest ever crowd in Australia, 25,000 people. It's the Coliseum style stadium. So the highest seat at the very top is almost directly on top of the seated in the front row. So everyone's got a great seat. And in the other really strange twist of fate is Nitro Circus started in Brisbane in May 2010. So for kind of Nitro World Games to be on the world stage outside of America for the first time in Brisbane, I think there's kind of something really special about that. And, hopefully get all of our international back in Brisbane, back traveling the world for our action sports events. There's something very special brewing for Suncorp Stadium in October.
No, for sure. What I'd love to see is Bristol Motor Speedway. Dude, that is kind of the exception of, like you said, how Brisbane has a stadium that's really like, you feel like you're on it, like the old Coliseum.
Yeah, it's Coliseum. That's exactly what it is.
Honestly, in the LA Coliseum, I say outdoor events sometimes aren't as spectacular. That was probably the best freestyle motorcycle event of all time. So, definitely been proved wrong a lot on that. But like Bristol Motor Speedway, you can get 80,000 people all close enough to really see what's going on. And these ramps, especially for the motorcycle side, like absolutely, we're still working on the landings. We're 99.999% sure everything's in. If not, it's still going to be fantastic and amazing. But what they're working on right now, we haven't announced it yet. But when it gets announced, when you see this,
this is the place you do it.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to be that guy, but I'm so excited.
Be that guy.
It's the biggest thing since sliced bread.
Tell me that. Tell me everything, Travis.
Do not, Micah, you should. I'm under strict instructions to not talk about this, so we're going to move right on.
Oh, come
Trav,
on.
I'm going to open up the floor to try and get a few questions from the audience. I just wanted to, something Trevor Teal, one of our probably number one supporter, asked very early on in the piece before I asked for questions. It's something I've always admired about you. Why, and I've heard you've told me this, I know the answer to this. Why do you make so much time for your fans, particularly after a show when you beat and you sign autographs for an hour? You're the first out there signing, last to leave. Just tell us a little bit about that mindset.
I'm still a fan of the sport. I mean, at the end of the day, my dad's like, you're making a living in your hobby. He's like, nobody gets to do that. If you get to do what you love to do for a living, you better make sure that you take every single opportunity to be thankful. And for me, like, I'm still a huge fan of when I watched the Nitro show. Like, I'm blown away. Like, I know Micah is the same way. Like, we're on the floor and we're high fiving, we're fist bumping. They're like, "How do you get so excited every night?" I'm like, this isn't fake. Like,
No, this is sick.
where you pumped,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
How special do you think it is now? Like, I mean, you kind of don't do as many Nitro Circus live shows as you once did. But when you come to the shows, you see a Ryan Williams, you see a Trevor Pastrana there well after the show's gone. But they don't leave till they've signed everything, and that's kind of, you've instilled that in people. Like, how special is that?
No, I mean, that's that's the next generation that's coming up. And what's awesome, like our Willie, he always, even when he was just the new scooter kid, he was that first person trying to interact with anyone that liked scootering, anyone that wanted to be around. And now, obviously, BMX and winningest X Games, Big Air, and everything else. But our Willie, he would always do like a giveaway, and he would always be the first person there. And at first, there was like 3 or 4 kids that would show up for a scooter, and he'd try to give that away, or a shirt or whatever it was. Now, when you get there early, like you get there for like press or whatever, and it's usually just a couple of people. Our Willie's already there, and he's got literally, because the fans have found out that Willie's the first person there, and he'll find a kid that he thinks is is a supporter that has a our Willie shirt on already or whatever, Nitro or something, and he'll give out 2, 3 scooters, shirts, everything, and dude, people come from all over because they know that he's going to be there. And same thing, like Trevor Pastrana, like he's not like a super amazing. He's just basically a redneck that loves riding dirt bikes.
Yeah.
He's good. He's the only guy that I know that flips a 3-wheeler. He's crashed half the shows he's been in, but he's that first person there. And he likes to be done. So Trevor Pastrana only does stunts in the first half, so he can go in halftime and drink with everyone in the stands, which has actually been kind of a fun little skit. Like, he'll pick the person that he feels like is his best competition and do a shoey with them when we're in Australia or whatever. And it's just cool to have people that walk around the crowd that are that just love their job. At the end of the day, everyone at Nitro Circus, like, we've had some of the best in the world that just didn't fit in because they were out there because it was a job, or they're out there for a paycheck. Like, oh, well, this is all I signed up to do. I don't have to do anymore. Like, yeah.
They don't last long on tour, do they? Because, I mean, we all are. Like, it's not just the athletes. I put myself in that position as well. We're in a very privileged position, and there's a lot of people knocking on the door to kind of take those roles. But good question here from Connor. Question for Rallycross, Trav. What modifications are being made to the tracks, and which one are you looking forward to the most?
I just went down, we were looking at the firm in Florida, and Florida's not a place that you would think, it's not a lot of elevation generally speaking, or really you don't think about it. But it was one of the few tracks that was built like as a training ground for rally in specific. So most of the pavement tracks that are out there are made for, 200 miles an hour or NASCAR or whatever. They're super wide. I'm not saying they're boring, but they're very fast. They're very flowing. Where the firm is super tight. There's a lot of outside insides to be able to do. And then there's a rally perimeter course that we're going to be able to put the Joker lap into. Nitro wasn't too happy because we're going to get like 8 more cameramen just for the Joker lap. The cars only do like once per race, but it's going to be
that sounds like
phenomenal.
Trav doing Trav things, definitely.
Yeah. No, I always, I'm the worst for everything that makes any sense, but it's going to be amazing racing. ERX is also a track that I'm really looking forward to. The Carlsons, phenomenal family, definitely know how to build a track. It's a short course track to start with. But Andrew is another Red Bull athlete. His dad does all the builds. Hubert, everyone's favorite redneck, is going to be actually building almost all of the tracks, or at least kind of the guy that he's built more car jumps probably than anyone, and more successful car jumps than probably anyone on the face of the earth. And, with cars, it's not like dirt bikes where you can have 2 degrees off one way or the other, or one side steeper. It has to be identical. And, especially with a lot of the Europeans coming over and a lot of the top drivers, they want to know the exact speed they have to hit it. It has to be consistent. And for us to get kind of the big jump to be consistent, where the smaller jumps can be a little bit more track variant. But our goal is that every track has a very unique element, something totally different. So, in rally motocross is one of the few sports that, the Subaru is a bigger car. If you look at like the Volkswagens, a smaller car, and you got the Skodas, and the Fords are kind of in between. So each track really suits a different vehicle. Each set of elements is, it's not like you'll see one driver like a Scott Speed is going to be phenomenal on the all paved tracks, but there's not a lot of all paved tracks, and it might rain, it might be muddy, it might, some sand sections, and it's going to take Scott a little bit out of his F1 element, where Scott's, not to be that guy, but I believe he's the best pavement driver, bar none, out there in rallycross, the sport today. But then you're looking at a lot of the Europeans, and I can't say exactly who's coming over, but there's some previous world champions coming over that are expecting to win. And then you got Ken Block and myself. Still talking to Ken about hopefully getting into some of the stuff, but he's doing some manufacturer changes right now. But at the end of the day, you've got the Americans that are good at jumping and flying and crazy stuff that are we all think we can win too. So you got the Europeans, the Americans, you got everyone thinking they're the best, and you got a bunch of different tracks that are going to suit different cars. So it's going to be a wild series.
There's so
Sorry,
many
I
questions.
talk so much.
There's so many questions lining up right now. What is Special Greg up to these days? That's a good question.
I think he just got signed on with Gibbs. He's working. So the goal was, I wanted to go NASCAR. He wanted to be basically a tire carrier. He wanted to be a jackman. He wanted to be in the pit crew. Well, it turns out Greg's better at being a pit crewman than I'm at turning left. So years later, that was 2012, that we went down to Waltrip, and he said, sign me up. And they laughed. They're like, oh, yeah, sure, man. We'll put you on. No, he went and took over NASCAR. He's pitted for Danica Patrick at the Indy 500. Special Greg is special. He's a phenomenal athlete. He's got a couple healthy, awesome kids, and Katie, his wife, is crushing it. They're just an awesome family. So really good to see him succeed in NASCAR. Someone in our family had to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how, like, you seem to win at everything. How difficult was it? Let's call it what it is. Like, you didn't win at NASCAR. Like, how hard was that for you to walk away?
Well, it's even harder for Andy Bell, who still hasn't cut his hair since he made the bet. He goes, I'm not going to cut my hair until you win a NASCAR race. It's not looking too promising for Andy. He's going to have hair down to his feet here soon. No, but so it was interesting. I had just come off 4 U.S. Rally Championships.
Yeah.
I transferred to rally pretty well for motocross. It felt similar. The more aggressive you are in an all-wheel drive car on the dirt, the more the time kind of comes off. You can take some chances. You're going to make mistakes. It just really suited my mentality. And then you had NASCAR that's rear-wheel drive. So rear-wheel drive really suits someone that's a finesse driver, someone that's real smooth with the throttle, someone that doesn't try to do too much with what they have. And then pavement magnifies that times 10. So as much as I would love to do NASCAR, as much as I had a great time, I really did. Everyone says, why'd you quit? I ran out of money. And I would have had to go all the way down to the base level and really relearn how to drive. And honestly, I didn't believe that I could ever be the best. It wasn't like motocross. If I want to go faster, I always figure out how to go faster. Rally, when I want to go faster, I can be more aggressive. Even rally cross, even if it's pavement, the all-wheel drive really helps to my mentality.
You can take bigger risks. Yeah.
So yeah, I sucked at NASCAR, but it was a good time.
Hey, let's get in a shameless sponsor post. First, Tax Act, obviously. You could get your tax done so you can win a Travis Pastrana signed pit bike, as well as a hot lap. I don't even know if this is a prize to jump in a rally car and whip around a track with Travis, because that's
like a punishment, really.
Yeah, it's scary as. Congratulations, you win. Get in here. Good luck. Tell us about Just Live.
No, it's pretty awesome. Like, being from the East Coast, we didn't really think about, about any alternative medicine, if you will. Like, we're like, oh, the hippie stuff doesn't work, whatever. Yeah. But I had taken Advil since the time I was about 16, quite frequently. And Andy Bell had the same issue where you basically start pooping water, kind of. It's just ibuprofen, any kind of acetaminophen is bad for the liver and all this stuff. You take it for long enough, there's going to be some downsides. I see so many friends that went downhill with opiates and with painkillers and everything. I mean, we see it all the time, and you feel like you need something to get by with the pain. If you don't take it, you're miserable. But it just takes people and changes their lives in a really destructive way. And then even when you're using opiates or painkillers, you're thinking you're okay, but you're really destroying your body because your body's telling you it's in pain for a reason. So you don't have to be an athlete necessarily to benefit from this. There's a lot of people in pain, but you always get people that when I post something on it, they're like, "Oh yeah, whatever, man. It's snake oil." I'm like, look, if you're not in pain, if you can sleep 10 hours through the night without waking up and being miserable, if you can go jog and you can do your sports, you can do what you love to do, and you're not an athlete where you need that extra 5 or 10% benefit from CBD, dude, I'm happy for you. I'm super, super stoked. But for my dad, who was at wit's end, and I never thought I'd get him to try CBD, but he's like, I can't live on painkillers. Like, he literally called me up, and not to be too personal in here, but
no, absolutely.
He's like, man, his brother, took himself to a early. Never mind, not to talk about that, but
no, for sure. That's it's the reality of it. It's an alternative medicine who a lot. You're not the only guy that swears by it. Like like you say,
sorry, not to.
No, go.
But my whole family, they've all done very high risk stuff, or they worked construction their whole life. They were, my uncle was bodybuilder, and he had a lot of pain. And the problem is you can't sleep. So you start taking sleeping medicine or painkillers, and then you can't get up. So you start, you're living on caffeine. Your body's just then you're basically starts breaking down. So I had ibuprofen where I started, basically my stomach was completely destroyed, and I needed to find a way. I was sleeping about 2 hours a night, and mentally I just couldn't wanted to do. I wasn't the person I wanted to be. I wasn't being nice to fans or my family or anybody else. And when I first met Lindsay, I was literally, I couldn't cuddle for more than literally I'd be in bed for 20 minutes and I have to get up and walk around. So luckily it was in California, and they seem to be the first ones to kind of get everything. And I wasn't, we get drug tested all the time. So I'm like, I can't take anything really. I can't even take cold meds and race NASCAR, because it's a stimulant or whatever, which is awesome. And that's perfect. So it keeps you definitely on the straight and narrow, not trying anything to mask any pain. But with CBD, I started to be able to, my inflammation went down, and I took it for my back, but my knee started feeling better. And I started to be able to walk more. I started to be able to be more active. I started to be able to do physical therapy. Same thing happened for my dad. He was not sleeping at all, and he was pretty much just mentally couldn't take it. He started being able to deal with stuff mentally. He started going to physical therapy. Definitely, if you're looking at, Just Live is the company that we basically started so we could really control with P-Rod and Clay Thompson, and just see if we could control what the ingredients were, what we could use for this CBD to really get the most out of it. And at the end of the day, it's for people that want to work to get better. It's going to reduce the inflammation. It's not going to make you happy. It's not going to make you feel like you're goofy or anything. It's reducing inflammation to allow you to get to physical therapy, to allow you to sleep a little bit longer, to allow you to be a little bit more mentally strong, and to live your best life. And that's why we started Just Live. And hopefully, we'll help some people off of the other alternatives.
Hey, Micah, do you think I can ask a question?
I think you're good. Yeah, go ahead, Browny.
Hey, Trav, can I ask a question? Why did
you ever?
Can I ask another question after this question? Thank you. Did you ever consider, you're one of not many East Coast FMXs, back in the glory days when you were winning all those X Games? Did you ever think that you needed to be in Temecula and kind of that hub of action sports, or why didn't you end up over there?
I love home.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you got Mad Mike Jones, man, right up just north of us in Pennsylvania. No, I mean, I was fortunate enough from my racing that I was able to buy 20 old, and we had equipment and we could build, and we went or scare train, as they call it. There's no run out, there's no run in. You're coming around something. It's definitely a more challenging area to learn stuff. But and Carrier Hart had the first foam pit. I had the second foam pit. So you either had, and then Metal Militia, they got a foam pit, but you were basically West Coast or East Coast. So we had we were pretty well divided in a cool way. Like, it's a different mentality.
Who is your favorite rider? Sorry, I've just taken over the Q&A right now. Who is your favorite rider in the late 90s, early 2000s? Like, obviously, you had the healthy rivalry with Deegan and Nate Adams, but who did you like watching ride the most?
Edgar Terrace was my favorite for freestyle. He just so much style. I went my first time over at Red Bull X Fighter, Spain, Madrid. I show up. There's like 2 people in the stands, and he's throwing these huge whips, and he's looking, and he's like, yeah, pump it up. And he eats crap, and he gets up, he's jumping up and down. I'm like, who the hell is he even performing for? But he had that charisma that was just contagious, and it was awesome to be around him. But I was a moto guy. Like, I really like Guy Airtime Cooper, Doug Henry. Those guys were kind of Matt Hoffman. If you do BMX, those are the guys I looked up to the most.
I'm going to play one more video, Trav. I think we're going to have to do part 2 of this in a couple of weeks if we can steal you again. I asked you to play I asked you what was your favorite video of all time, and you kind of nominated something from the original Nitro Circus DVD. So we're going to roll that tape and kind of talk us through this time in your life. This is Wheels in New Zealand, so this is definitely the wrong video. Why don't we just stay here? New Zealand 2011. The best tour ever you have described this as. Tell us about this.
Dude, best tour. And this was maybe the best moment. Well, not this one. This way he did the front flip. So Wheels, he was trying backflips and double backflips. And his parents came over, his mom came over, and he's like, I'm going to try a front flip. He hadn't landed, I don't think, anything to that point.
No.
And his mom comes over, and he's like, I'm going to try a front flip. And she's so scared, and everybody's nervous for him. And he lands the backflip for the first time on the tour. And then he goes back up the ramp, and he lands a front flip. And we went over here, and we put him up, and he crowd surfed. And he was crying. His mom was crying. We were crying. It was how's the crew? Rona, Dusty, and Pastrana pushing to Wheels. Legend has it we never saw Wheels again after this time. It was when I asked you, Trav, I said, can you pick like 2 of your favorite videos of all time? You picked your 2 videos, but then you said, can we talk about that New Zealand 2011 tour? And I thought that video was a great way to sum up that. That was our second ever tour, and it was like, holy shit, this is something really special, wasn't it? Dude, so our second tour, we go down to New Zealand, and, we're like, all right, so, the stadiums, they'll hold 18,000. We're like, oh, man, if we get those like half sold out, this will be great. We're going to have so much fun. Dude, sold out. Every single stadium was to max capacity. When I say max capacity, we sold every inch of grass. We sold every seat. The people, we get there like I said, when R. Willie and everyone's showing up early, the crowd, I felt like we were just a rock band. It was like the wildest thing you've ever seen. And that tour, that excitement, that environment, Cam Sinclair double flipping every night, like it just Wheels stepping up. Our families were coming over going, so this is a thing, and they'd show up and be blown away. If you didn't experience that, like especially at the beginning when so many of these kids like Andy Buckworth and all the Aussie BMX kids and the scooters, and their parents just didn't really get it. And most of them were like, oh yeah, so you should probably, why didn't you go to college? Why didn't you join the circus? And all of a sudden they come out and there's pandemonium, and these kids are rock stars, and it was a pretty rad time.
I think, like that at the time we were the Nitro Circus was the 3rd biggest touring act in the history of New Zealand behind AC/DC. And that was just like to be on the podium with AC/DC and Pink, this Nitro Circus is what we probably thought wasn't brand, but New Zealand was just something else. We had to hire 2 extra security guards because we couldn't go anywhere. And not that we were in harm's way, but we were literally getting mobbed. Like we couldn't go anywhere without being stopped in the streets. And I think that is most people who are on that tour will say that was the kind of the best ever Nitro Circus live moment. It's hard to beat that stuff for sure.
Sorry about playing the wrong video there, Brownie. That was I had them both labeled as Trav's fave. So, and we could do the other one, and then close it out. But before we do that, I just want to quickly go through and thank a bunch of viewers who subscribed during this. Chris Mendel, 3-month tier 1 subscription. Trevor Teal gifted at least 15 subs during the stream. This man has gifted us 126 subscriptions in the last year.
Where do you get these subs from?
He's got it growing. Chris Mendel Jr. also gifted a tier 1 sub. Josh I resubscribed for 5 months. California 117 gifted a sub. Avid Lurker cheered 199 bits. That's the correct amount of bits. Gecko also 199 bits.
Still don't know what a bit is, but thank you.
It's Twitch currency, but we get to transfer it to
like
USD. Yeah, basically. And not at all, but for our purposes, that's fine. California 117 with it a gifted to Zoom, and I think that covers it. Thank you all so much for the support. You guys are the best. And now I'll do Trav's video, I believe, if I have these labeled right.
Trav, let's play this last video, and then we're gonna let you go. Boy, what is this? Well, I don't even know.
Action figures.
Wow.
This is action figures too. Yeah, no, good. Let's play this.
Was that not it? Do I also have that labeled wrong?
Yeah, you've got this labeled wrong for sure. Anyway, here we are, Trav. Action figures 2. You spent all your own money on this. Why?
That's the same thing my wife asks all the time. No, because at the end of the day, dude, that's cool. The girls section was awesome, and it was just so much fun, dude. Brandon Schmidt stepped up huge. He cried during the film of this. It was great. Like, it was a lot of emotion. Beaver Fleming, dude, that's the new Danny Way, in my opinion. He just and then Trevor Jacob going off the roof's magical. This was his shining moment. It was wheels crashed my side by side about 15 times in one lap. Poor Minnie right there. Our Willie landed it, but then Maryland Wrecking Crew right here, broken collarbone. Yeah, there's a lot of. It's like when I was looking over that video that you were playing at the very beginning, I realized why it hurts so much when I wake up. But CBD it helps a little bit. It's good.
Hey, let's finish on let's finish on this note, Trav. We've kind of had a couple of references to her and your beautiful daughters. How important has Lynn's been on this journey with you, kind of the last 11 years? Like, you joke about the money stuff, but none of this happens without her, right?
Now Lindsay, she's kept me sane. I always used to call it, she's, like Lynn Z. I always called her my Ritalin. She was the only thing that could keep me mellow, and gave me a lot of motivation, a lot of purpose to not do some of the really dumb things that I wasn't sure if we're going to work out. But also the motivation, to be a good father and to be someone that, shows their kids that what it takes to work hard and to live your passion. So I think my family, if anything, has just kept me on track, the best possible. And Lindsay, thank goodness someone grew up in our family, because she's an absolute phenomenal mother and a phenomenal wife, and just taking care of everything that needs to be taken care of. That I don't check my emails or daylight savings or anything really. I just try to have fun all day, and someone's got to take care of us. So it's been nice.
And she's also a freak athlete in her own right.
Well, so Lindsay, a couple years ago, so she, even after her first, so she won 3 X Games. Let me start over. She won 3 X Games gold medals. When Jolene got hurt on the first tour, Lindsay was like, I can backflip a dirt bike. Well, she had never really ridden a dirt bike before. She backflipped once into an to a foam pit, and she crashed 4 consecutive shows in a row, but she did try it. So props to her for that. Crazy woman.
You know what I reckon, Trav? We'll talk with Lynn. let's talk with Linz and get you guys both on in a few weeks. And I just made a note. Let's get that crash video of her in Newcastle, Canberra, Gold Coast, Townsville.
So good. It scared me to death. But yeah, she's pretty durable, which is good. But no, so this 2 years ago, she goes and she's like, you know what? Skateboarding's going to the Olympics. She's like, it's not my discipline. Like Lindsay's a vert skater. She grew up with Tony Hawk and the DC ramp and all that stuff. But she's like, I'd hate myself if I didn't at least give it a shot. So she started skating every day, and she went over and she won her first world championship back in, I think, when she was like 16. And then when she was 30, she won her second world championship in 2019. So super proud of her there. But then didn't decide to go for the street or the Olympic stuff. So super proud of her though for even putting the effort in and getting back on top in vert was really cool.
Unreal. You guys are the action sports version of Posh and Bex. If any Americans even know what that is, probably not.
No clue.
Just say yes. Just say yes. Perfect, mate. I think we should let you go. But Trav, let's chat offline because I think a few people are saying, can we come back on with Linz? That would be sick to get you guys on again, and we'll get the timings right. So it's 7:00 and 4 p.m. Eastern. How about that?
Wait, 4 p.m. Eastern? No.
7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, which I think will be, because we go change daylight savings, will be like 8 a.m. my time. Some bullshit like that. I don't know.
All right. Hey, if you guys got a couple seconds, I feel like we didn't answer anyone's questions. Do you want to answer a few more? Or are you guys good?
Yeah. Do you want to, can you keep answering questions? Oath. I'm not going to ask that question, Chris Mendelin. That's inappropriate.
Thanks.
I'm screening live here. Trevor Teal says, thanks, Trav, for putting my nephew in your rally car in Goldendale, Washington, 2019. He still brags about it. Okay, that's not really a question, but thanks, Trev.
Usually if there's a kid that's super cool, like you don't just put anyone in. So tell him he's probably a pretty cool kid, or at least he was very respectful. So thanks for him.
Well, good stuff. What else we got here, Charlie? Have I missed anything? I can't ask that question about a barroom brawl in 2004. Skip that.
I wasn't even drinking in 2004. Yeah.
So maybe you do remember that brawl. You're a lover, not a fighter, so you wouldn't have been in it. What's Nev? I asked Street Bike Tommy on Instagram, and he said we had to clear it with Travis. Can I come and ride Pastrana Land?
Got to clear with Tommy.
Yeah, I tell you what, if you can get a written agreement with Tommy, he is the literally the gatekeeper at Pastrana Land. So if you can get it signed off by Tommy, you're in. How about that?
Yeah. But then you got to get past Hubert, to be honest.
And then
Hubert's been living in that shop for a while since COVID, really.
And then once you get past Hubert, all you do is sign the waiver. You're good. So yeah, you got to get to. What's your favorite ever trick you've done?
The flip kiss of death is definitely the coolest trick. You pull as hard as you can, like you're doing a double, and then you jump off your dirt bike, throw it over your head, and you look down, and your feet are literally just floating over the ground, and you can kind of run, and if you feel like you're walking on air, and then you gotta, as I'm getting older and my wrists aren't working and my abs aren't quite as strong, and I got long legs, getting back on the bike, like literally, I ripped my abs right off last time I tried that because I hadn't done it in a while. Yeah, more core strength for me.
When was the first time you landed that?
Todd Potter did it at X Games. What was it, 2007? I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen, Magic Man. And probably about a week after that.
This is awesome.
Trivia question, but this is weird. Teal, Travis, where did you land the first double flip?
Spokane, Washington.
There you go. I think
caught you off guard. Brownie thought he knew the answer to that, but he didn't.
No, I didn't know the answer. I knew it. That's the one in the mesh wood, right? In the wood chips.
No, just sand pile, but yeah.
Sand pile. Are you scared of Haley Deegan?
We got a race. We got the Freedom 500 coming up. We got Haley Deegan. We got Tanner Faust, Alex Bowman, Diesel Dave with the Diesel Brothers. It's going to be a good battle. But yeah, if Haley beats me, what's that?
You didn't answer the question. Are you scared of Haley Deegan?
Yeah, if I lose to her, Dad's gonna laugh at me for a long time.
Does Brian Deegan still come out in the Legion of Doom shoulder pads with spikes? That's not a question.
I haven't seen him out in that recently, but no, Brian's actually he's a very underrated driver. Actually, Bilko as well. Like those guys, they go really well. There's a lot of motocross guys that have transferred over to cars. Good, and Deegan works hard. He does.
Travis Pastrana, have you ever played hockey? I think he'd be pretty good on some skates.
I very limited. No, by the time I was into the hockey realm, yeah, Jolene kicked my ass, but she's Canadian, so that doesn't count, right?
Remember we did I think it was it maybe Helsinki when we did the ice hockey PR activation and you couldn't do it because you had the bad knees, and our ice hockey team was disgusting, but Billy's Jolene Billy Van Butte were like dominated, and we lost about 20 goals to 1, but Billy and Jolene kept us in it.
Dude, well, so yeah, I was on your team. Yeah, we went over there and I couldn't, my knee was jacked. So I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get on skates, but I'll be the goalie. Dude, I didn't realize how bad it hurts. Jolene hit me in the ankle. I thought I shattered it. I was like, that was horrible. Never again will I be a goalie without real skates.
Yeah, and never again will we do an ice hockey game for a publicity exercise. Although Micah is channeling a little bit of Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks, like he's got a bit of a Goldberg vibe.
Flying V.
A goalie body. Yeah.
All right. What else? Have we got anything else for Trav, or are we going to let him go? Trav won't turn it down a dollar bet. Dollar bet for what?
Trevor Teal bet Travis that $1 that he wouldn't join us for the Nitro Circus iRacing League, which happens every Tuesday night.
Oh man, it's so this. I mean, if you see, that's my iRacing setup right there. It's just sitting waiting for you guys. You got this. I don't know. It's been tough though. I'm not a very good computer. It takes away all of my talent, and my talent, when I say talent, is just being willing to put myself at a higher risk than anyone else and somehow figuring out how to make it work. But iRacing, everyone is willing to take all the risk. So I'm kind of suck.
I can read this person's question, but not their username. Nitro World Games, you're going to be there, TP.
Yeah, no, I'll be there. I'll be there for sure. So it's gonna be one heck of an event. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we're working really hard to bring to make this beyond even awesome. This is very well going to be the biggest action sports, not the biggest, but the craziest action sports event of all time. It's going to be something you have to see, I believe.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of crazy people in the same room and stadium for the first time in a long time as well. We're going to, I think we're a couple of weeks away from announcing the North American tour date. So what we might do, Trav, we'll work with your scheduler, your wife, and see if we can get you in for that announcement and have a chat with Linz as well, because we didn't get to half the stuff we wanted to chat about. So, Trav, thanks so much, man. We appreciate your time. You're a busy man, and to give us an hour and a half of your time on a Wednesday night. Thank you, my man.
You got me out of cheer practice. I'm just kidding. But seriously, thank you.
No further questions. Mike, I got any further? Can we end on that note?
That's perfect.
All right, Mike, I love you, buddy. We'll be back again next week. It's our favorite part of the week. So thank you, bud. Thanks, Trav. Give a big hug and kiss to Linz and the girls from us as well. And you represent the action sports flag, and we follow you in the war. So thank you, buddy.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh,
Thanks.
What do you know? We did it. Thank you all so much. Gecko with that 199 bits cheer at the end there. Bringing it home. Was that fun or what? Thank you all for all the great questions. Our next stream is going to be Tuesday night for the final episode of the Tic-Tac-Toe. That's Nitro Circus League Tic-Tac-Toe. Join our Discord to find out more details about that. There's always info flowing around there. Tic Tac. So I'm giving you some info in the chat. And again, appreciate everyone. Thanks for all the new follows, all the subs, all the gifted. We had a hype train reach level 5. That's probably only happened one other time on this channel. So incredibly thankful for all the support. Thank you so much. Like I said, next stream is Tuesday night, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then the next Micah and Browny show will be 1 week from tonight. That's Wednesday next week. Same time, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. And we don't have the guests locked in yet, so we'll be announcing that in a few days. But it's gonna be awesome either way. So make sure you come by for that. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. On behalf of Thrill One Sports and Entertainment, that's Nitro Circus, Nitro Rallycross, Street League Skateboarding, and Thrill One Media. My name is Charlie. Thanks again for all the support. We'll see you next time.
Yes!